All right, I told you that I'm going to keep this week's answers quick, and that's just what I'm going to do. Let's start with spelling on 121. This week's your lesson is homophones, which are words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. 1 and 2, lesson. 1 is something you learn, a lesson, whereas 2 is to make less. 3, 4, and 5 is aisle. 3 is aisle, like the space between your desks. 4 is aisle, like shorthand for an island. And 5 is aisle, like an abbreviation for I will. 6 and 7, navel and navel. Navel with an EL refers to your belly button region, whereas navel with an AL refers to the Navy. 8 and 9, pane. Pane, P-A-N-E, is a square piece of something like a pane of glass, whereas pain, P-A-I-N, is discomfort. 10 and 11, minor. 10 is minor, ER, like someone that goes into the ground to mine for resources. Minor, OR, is a lesser amount of something. You might be a minor if you're not of age. 12 through 14, vain, vain, and vain. Okay, first of all, V-A-I-N. That's the vein of having a high opinion of yourself or thinking a lot of yourself. V-A-N-E, vain, that's like a weather vane. That's like the north, south, east, west you might see on top of a barn that spins in the wind. And V-E-I-N is like a passageway for your blood. 15 and 16, principal and principal. The P-A-L, that'd be like Mr. Lemley. That's your pal. That's the leader of a school. Whereas principal, P-L-E, can actually mean a couple of different things. It either means an amount of money that you put down as a down payment, or it's like a value or a scruple that you have, something that you live your life to, a standard. Idle and idle. 17 is idle, I-D-L-E. That's idle, like not moving. Whereas I-D-O-L is idle, like somebody you look up to, like Mr. Parzik is my idol. 19 and 20, sheer and sheer. Sheer, S-H-E-E-R, is see-through, like you might have like a sheer curtain that you can almost completely see through. Whereas shear, S-H-E-A-R, is to cut, like you would shear the wool of a sheep. Okay? 21 through 23, those are review, and just for the sake of knowing challenge words, hanger and hanger. Hanger with an ER is like a coat hanger, whereas hanger with an AR is the place where you park your airplane. So, moving along, on the sort page, we're talking about the syllable sounds, the ones that have a long A. Pain, vein. Long I for aisle. Okay, we have the one-syllable words with the R-controlled vowel. Ear. And then basically 11 through 20 is kind of the everything else sound. That upside down E, that's the schwa, that's the sound. Okay. All right. At the top, we have analogies, where you find the relationship between the first two. Coach is the leader of a team, just like a principal is the leader of a school. A cook, their job is cooking, whereas a miner, their job is mining. Take a moment and look at those answers. And at the bottom, we're just completing the sentences. Like usual, tomorrow at some point, I'll post the document that has all these answers you can double check. So don't feel like you have to keep up on this video. But that said, go ahead and pause if you want to double check now. And same thing with 125. These are your 6 misspellings. If you want to check your answers now, go ahead and pause the video just for a second. All right, as I told you, I'm going to keep this video quick as to not take up too much of your time. Grammar 91 through 95. So we're talking about the agreement between those pronouns we talked about last week and the verb in your sentence. Subject pronouns and their verb must agree. You add an S to a regular present tense verb when you use a singular pronoun, such as he, she, or it. Don't add an S to the regular present tense verbs when you use the pronouns I, we, you, and they. And then we have something here, we call it an indefinite pronoun. It does not refer to a specific person, place, or thing. Some of these indefinite pronouns are singular, like anyone or everyone. Others are plural, such as both or several. Some can be plural or singular, such as all and some. So you look at the bottom here, and it says, choose the verb in parentheses that correctly completes the sentence. Write the correct verb on the line. Underline the subject pronoun. Well, there you go. The subject pronoun, well, it's a pronoun. If the verb is in parentheses, the subject pronoun is going to come before the parentheses. In this case, it is the subject pronoun, and you would want it to agree, so you would have looks. It looks. He says. We play. Anyone, everyone agrees. I want. She kicks. Both hope. All feel, and you need. Okay? Subject pronoun and the verb that it agrees with. On the next page, these are contractions. These are when you put two words together. Essentially what you're doing is you're replacing letters with an apostrophe. This hopefully is a review for you. So if you want to take a minute, I'm not going to read these to you. If you want to take a second and pause your video and double check your answers on 92. Moving right along on page 93, these are frequently confused words, such as there, and there are often used incorrectly, even by adults. There, T-H-E-R-E, is a place, like over there. There, apostrophe R-E, they are. And finally, there, T-H-E-I-R, is a possessive pronoun. It shows possession. Sometimes you have other homophones, can be confusing, to, and to, it's and its, whose and whose. What they wanted you to do here is choose the word in parentheses that correctly completes the sentence. So you're looking for meaning. In this case, we want there, T-H-E-R-E. That's the location one. And number 2, we want your, Y-O-U-R, the possessive pronoun. Whose, as in who is going. Next one, we have to, T-W-O, which is the number, Victor and Leah. Next, we have their, T-H-E-I-R, possessive pronoun. Whose name? Their name. And finally, its, with the apostrophe, as in it is. It is going to be an interesting race. Okay. Page 94. Subject pronouns and verbs must agree. You add an S to a regular present tense verb when you use the singular pronoun he, she, and it. Don't add an S when you use verbs such as, pronouns such as I, we, you, and they. The indefinite pronouns do not refer to a specific person, place, or thing. And subject pronouns can be combined with some verbs to form contractions. Don't confuse words such as there, and there, to. It's, whose, and yours. So essentially what they want you to do here is correct the mistake in the subject-verb agreement. In this case, the first one, if you look carefully, you can see we want to say we go. It wouldn't be we goes, we go. And we see that at the top. It says we, do not add an S. The next one, she barks. Again, if you look at the top of the page, he, she, and it, you put an S. Scout runs. Then there are minor corrections, like you can see number 4, you need to capitalize to begin your sentence. Okay. Scout sits. And last but not least, thinks it's the chase. Thinks it is the chase. All right. All right, here's what I'm going to have you do. This is your mystery hidden assignment today. At some point before class tomorrow, before the school day begins tomorrow, I want you to take grammar page 95. I'd like you to complete it, and I'd like you to submit your answers for a quiz grade. I'm not going to tell you what the assignment is. You have to watch the video. I'm just going to say mystery assignment. So please submit grammar page 95 as your mystery assignment. Okay? All right. Moving on into the practice book, okay? Obviously, these are the vocab. We've gone over these before. We said audacity, to be audacious. That's to be bold. Oblivious is unaware of what's happening. Deception, the definition uses the word lie, but I like to think of it more as misleading or tricking somebody. Somber is a sad, down occasion. Desolate is an abandoned, deserted kind of place, run down. To be steadfast is to be determined, to not give up. Exploits are accomplishments that you have. And valiant is a bravery or courage. Okay? All right, you read the story about Arachne and Athena. How does Arachne create the problem for herself? Well, she's so vain. She brags about how great she is, and that causes a problem when the goddess becomes displeased with her. How does Arachne try to prove that she's better? She wants a contest. She wants to prove it by winning. Even though Athena is displeased with Arachne, she wants to give Arachne a chance to apologize. Does it work? No, it doesn't work because she's not going to take back her bragging. She's too vain. She thinks too highly of herself. And at the end of the story, Athena's problem is that she wants to punish Arachne for making fun of those gods, but she does appreciate the love of weaving. How does she solve the problem? She makes Arachne into a spider. She still gets to weave, she still gets her love of weaving, but she is now punished for her boldness. Okay. The story of the wings of Icarus, it's one you're probably somewhat familiar with. What element found in most myths does this contain? Well, here you go. Icarus can fly. Most humans don't have that power. Number 2 is an opinion, but you still have to support. In your opinion, what lesson does it teach? You'd probably want to say something about following the advice of those who know more, or obeying a parent, obeying someone in charge, and you can prove that by saying, Icarus thought he knew better than his father. He flew too close to the sun, the wings melted, and he fell to his death. And finally, describe the series of events that contribute to the text's larger-than-life quality. Well, larger-than-life means beyond life, or bigger than things that can really happen. So, first of all, the father making wings out of wax. Unlikely, but yeah, technically you could, but they probably wouldn't work. But what makes this larger-than-life is when he puts them on Icarus, he can fly with them. And then he flies too close to the sun, the wings melt, and he falls to his death. Keeping going along, we're talking about the origin of words, and we talked about how the English language comes from so many different places. In this case, we have some words like magnificent that comes from Latin, and you could see it's something about amazing or impressive. Next, you have the word superior, also Latin. It's a better or a higher quality. If you're superior to somebody or something, you're better. Next, we have disguise. This one's actually an ancient French origin, and that's a costume that conceals your identity. And finally, we have portrayed, which is Latin, and to portray is to show in words, to show in pictures, basically kind of like to, explain. Okay? 208, this is kind of, put the homophones, you pair them up, which obviously you can do that. That's easy. And at the bottom, you're connecting the exact same thing. If you want to double check this answer, you can pause the video, but I'm not going to take up too much of your time. 209, we don't usually do that one. And then page 210, okay? What did Daedalus warn Icarus not to do? And you see circle it. Don't fly too low because the sea will ruin the feathers. That's one thing not to do. Why did Icarus fly too close to the sun? Draw a box, but I'll prove that I'm more worthy. So he told himself he needed to fly higher to prove himself. Underline a transition word, something that helps you go from one to another. Well, that's the first word, when. Remember, this is just an excerpt. So when would tell you that this is the next item in a series, the next thing that happens. And write one adjective on the line. Well, you could say musty, amazing, hot. Those are some examples. All right, like I said, your mystery assignment that I would like to give you credit for is submitting grammar page 95. Okay? Submit that in. I'm going to call it Mystery Assignment in Teams. Submit it at some point before class starts tomorrow. And thank you for watching. I will see you guys very soon.